Hi guys, and welcome to the Health Bar. If you don't know what the Health Bar is, we are a mental health within gaming podcast. So we talk all things good and bad about gaming and what it does to our mental health. Yeah, like that's pretty much us. Like I really appreciate everyone watching, listening. Like it's been so amazing that we are still getting weekly guests, which has been brilliant, and it just seems like we're growing and getting more kind of traction, which is amazing. So I really do appreciate everyone. So thank you so much for that. We always start the mental health podcast off with my own mental health for the week. Now, I've been a little bit up and down this week, and also as well, it is my own fault, and I put my hands up, and I tell people never to do this, but I hadn't taken some of my meds for a little while, and that's because of coming back off holiday and all this kind of stuff and just kind of forgetting, and there's no excuse for it. So I think I kind of had a bit of a kind of come down from that, but then also going back on them is the same type of thing because it always takes a little while for them to kick back in again. So I hadn't been off them for long, but enough. So that's obviously affected me a little bit as well. So, but we are kind of back up, and but yeah, the last few days have been a bit of a weird one. I haven't had I don't think I'm having kind of like depression and anxiety like as much, but there is something on the horizon. Maybe I'm not on the horizon, but it's weird to explain. But I think if people are going through stuff, they kind of understand what I mean. So, but yeah, that's been my week for mental health. So. Not the best, but not the worst either. So it's kind of, in the middle, I would say. We go on and talk about mental health within gaming news, or we can find any news about what kind of gaming and mental health, etc. And we come up, found a really good thing on Fortune, fortune.com. And it's basically, their headline here is how the pandemic fueled surge in gaming is reshaping our understanding of its effects on mental health. And it's kind of a really interesting article. And it goes on obviously about mental health and gaming and how popular gaming got through the pandemic, but also as well how people found support. Now, what I mean by support is talking to people online, talking to people through Discord channels, and kind of getting really close friendships online, which for a lot of people had never happened before. So it kind of talks about that, talks about kind of how the gaming industry has changed and how obviously the view on gaming and mental health has changed. I find it really interesting. It's a really good read. I would definitely go and kind of have a look. But yeah, there's some great bits in it. But yeah, I will link it down in the descriptions anyway. So on Spotify and YouTube, in the descriptions there will be the link to this. But there is some really nice information, and it's about kind of how how people are not being as lonely because they've been playing games and talking to people online. So, but yeah, so I'll link all that so you can get to have a look at that. So. On to the next bit. So we have our guest today. So our guest I found through another friend of mine, Iron Hand, and they would spend a lot of time in Iron Hand's chat, and then we would be in there, and then they joined the It's Only Pixels community, and we've known each other from there. So on all the chats and that, he is UKZK. But he is Martin, so we will know him as Martin today. So without further ado, let's kind of get Martin in. So Martin, welcome.
Hello. All that traction you talked about at the start is going to die this episode.
Don't say that. Oh my God, don't say that. That's it. I'm upset now. I'm joking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Honestly, thank you so much for coming on. I do say this to a lot of people, and I really do appreciate like people coming on and wanting to come onto the podcast to talk about something that is still very taboo is mental health. So I really do appreciate it.
Hey, I want to say thank you for having me on. Like, oh my God. And also, you know what? Let's talk about mental health. We need to make it normal, man.
Exactly.
Everyone should talk about it.
100%. So, Martin, let's talk about yourself. So, I always kind of ask, because obviously we are a gaming and mental health kind of podcast. I always love to know how you got into gaming and kind of where your whole gaming started, I suppose.
I have literally been gaming since I could just about walk. My dad was a huge, my dad's an engineer, so he's been a computer nerd. And as a kid,
Nice.
he got me hooked onto train simulators.
Oh, okay.
Uh, that my first ever game was one of the ones that came out in the early 2000s. It's an embarrassing start, but it's where I started.
It doesn't
And
matter. Yep.
it's developed into a love of strategy games mostly. Total
Right.
War kid through and through. I've been playing the original Rome Total War since it came out.
Right.
Um,
Okay. Wow.
yeah, like, and that's where I've been really, just Total War. And then as I grew older, I got into Paradox because it was kind of like the next step for complicated
Yep.
games that don't make much sense.
Yeah.
Um, and recently I've been on a Hearts of Iron kick, which
Okay.
is I'm looking forward to. I think it's the hype for the new DLC coming out.
Nice.
So yeah. But
I,
I've
I
also played some other games. Oh, sorry. Nope.
no, no, no.
Go
I
ahead.
always say that. I always think that you kind of start going back into some games when they start kind of talking about like new downloads and like DLCs and all that kind of stuff. Like I think it's a great way for older games to kind of get you back involved.
Definitely. But the problem I have with that though is I tend to start playing them way too far in advance of the DLC coming out. So by the time the DLC comes out, I don't even really want to play it anymore. Then I won't play it for like another 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I get you. That's cool. I've never massively been into strategy games, but they fascinate me. Like watching people play them absolutely fascinates me. And obviously, I've seen Iron Hand kind of play some stuff as well, and yeah, it does. It's one of them I kind of would like to try, but also not. you know. So with that type of thing and strategy games, do you kind of play them then online with a lot of people, or is it just a few people? What's the
It
kind of
really
background?
depends. It depends on the game. I'm reluctant to play Hearts of Iron with other people just because I'm fully aware I will get my behind royally kicked every time.
Right. Okay.
Um, but I'll gladly play Total War online with people for sure. That's probably like it's one of the few strategy games I feel confident enough playing
Okay.
online with other people.
Yep. Fair enough. Happy days. Okay, so that's obviously your gaming. Now, obviously, the next stage of this is mental health. Um, so why did you kind of want to come onto the podcast? Is it yourself that's struggling, or have been struggling in the past, or is it friends? Kind of what was your reasoning? I suppose.
Uh, I came on. I do have my own struggles, of course.
Hmm.
Mental health has been a huge theme through my life. I have
Okay.
friends who struggle.
Yeah.
To respect their privacy, I'm not going to talk about them,
No,
but
of course.
I I want to come on just to I like to help if I can help raise awareness for mental health, and even if it means talking about some of my stuff, then I will gladly do anything to raise awareness for mental health because there's too much being tight-lipped about it. We should need to talk about it because it's everyone. It's the one thing that unifies everyone.
Yes, it really does, and I think you hit the nail on the head. It does. It does bring people together in a weird way. There was so I was obviously yourself as well. Actually, we were watching a podcast yesterday, and it was kind of there was some interesting facts that came out, and they were saying that in America, especially this was American. They said that 20% of people in America are struggling with mental health issues, and
Gee,
someone actually brought it up and said that's the 20% of people that have actually opened up and admitted it. And that
yeah,
is a massive like truth. Like, and I think, that number could be 40%. Like I really
oh,
truly believe or more. But it's the people that aren't talking about it because they're either not ready or as you mentioned, there's that stigma, especially still in male mental health. All there's lots of obviously other reasons. But you are right. Well, I think we massively need to open up and talk about things, and this is why I talk about my mental health every single episode and talk about what my mental health for that week is. Because if I can say it, out loud on a podcast, and then someone hears it and goes, "Oh, actually, I'm going through something similar," or "Oh, they've opened up. I can go and talk to." I just want people to understand that, yeah, you're not alone and you can talk.
Absolutely. I think everyone should just talk about it.
Yeah.
It's a good thing you're doing with the podcast. And even if you do a million episodes and you only get one person to become open about their mental health, you have achieved
Yes.
literally a lifetime's worth of good.
Exactly.
So
That's
I think
exactly
it's a
what we're doing.
great message. And yeah,
Yeah.
people need to
Appreciate.
talk about it.
Yes, they do. They massively do. So, with your own kind of mental health, then, gaming, has it been a help? Has it been a hinder, or a bit in the middle? How has it kind of worked for yourself?
It's kind of been for most of my life. It's been in the middle.
Okay.
Um, I use games for my mental health for the escapism, just to get away from the real
Yes.
world. But
Hmm.
there were a good few years. It really sucked during my teenage years because I became almost in a way addicted to that escapism, where I got to the point where I put off everything else, and
Right.
my school grades suffered, my personal life suffered.
Yeah.
Although I'm now happily in a relationship, couple of relationships then didn't work out just because I was so caught up in just being somewhere else,
Yes. Okay.
in like a fantasy world. So, middle of the road. It helps, but sometimes I'm too reliant on it.
Yeah, that makes sense, and it's kind of nice to hear that kind of story, because there's a lot of stories of obviously how it's been brilliant and it's amazing, and I for me personally, it has been very good. I do think sometimes I get to a stage where I am maybe in front of my screens too much. But then kind of the missus obviously picks it up and says, look, I think you're on it too much, or, have you maybe kind of just want to go out for a walk and all that kind of stuff. But again, I'm very lucky to have a partner that kind of does that. But yeah, I kind of think the same. Like for me, the podcast has been brilliant for me personally, because again, I'm talking about my mental health, which is, it's kind of like therapy, but not. So I think that's really good. But then, as I say, screen time can also be a bit much sometimes, and that addiction kind of stage starts to creep in sometimes. So
Certainly. I also think with video games, it's such a good one that you can say, oh no, you can't be addicted to video games, because it sounds weird to say,
yeah,
but you can definitely be addicted to the video. Like I had to teach myself to not be on my screen for 10 hours a day,
yeah,
which there was a point where I used to be.
yeah,
Now I'm good. I keep it under 5 hours a day
yeah,
now, which I know isn't great, but it's better than like putting everything else off just to be somewhere else and not think about anything.
yeah, definitely. And that's exactly a reason why when I stream, I am 4 hours. That's it. And I will go over the 4 hours if I get like a raid or a host or whatever like that. I will go over, but not by much. Like, because I am very kind of, that is my hours. That's it. It's done and dusted. And then, I'll turn it off and then go put the little one to bed, or if it's in the evening, then calm down and then watch some TV and then get ready, because I know in the morning I've got to take the little one somewhere, or, so I'm the same. I kind of try and really restrict it to a certain amount of hours, and then that's it.
I think you have to, like, otherwise you will just spend like 24 hours a day on a computer. It's not healthy for anyone.
Yep. And the thing is, I think I would. I still
Same here.
think, even with, I think if I had the opportunity, it's that thing, isn't it? I think if I was single, and kind of, where I am in my life at the moment, but single, I probably would. That weekends and evenings, I would probably, you know, live my life that way, and I would slip into a very bad place. I would put money on it, but then, having the people around me at the moment that I have, obviously family wise, but also my online community, they do help a lot. They help a lot.
Good. I think, yeah, everyone needs a support network, definitely.
Yes. Talking about support networks is a very good one. Yourself. Have you
Me,
got kind of, and is your support network, if you do have one, is it mainly online, or do you have offline kind of help as well?
of my 95% of my support network is my partner,
Mhm.
or my friend, Rachel.
Nice.
They Rachel is kind of, I'll talk about her. I've known her first. Rachel is a very close friend of mine. I've known her for about 10 years. I call her my adoptive mum, even though we're the same age. She she keeps an eye on me. I lived with her for about 2 years, and she would like keep an eye on everything I was doing to make sure I wasn't doing anything like I when I first got a computer again, living with her, she'd knock on my door every now and then and be like, "Hey, you might have been on that for a bit too long, you know."
Yeah. Okay.
Um, and my girlfriend's the same. She's very. She knows I've struggled with my mental health, and she's very careful to keep an eye on me, and she knows the habits I can fall into,
Yeah.
and she's very careful not to like be like, "Oh, you're doing this too much," but to be like, "Hey, maybe you should do something else."
Yes.
I would be screwed without those two for real. I think in both of their cases, without them being around, I don't know if I'd be here.
Right. Okay. That's very. It's very brave to say, and I love. And this is kind of again why I think people need to open up, because obviously your other half, obviously you've explained kind of, your mental health and what you've been through, uh, to her, and that's how she can then be, so supportive.
Yes,
And yeah,
yeah, she knows everything there is to know about. She is like a dictionary if you want to look up me. I told her everything. Like, when we first got together, I was very worried because I was in quite a bad place. So when I
yeah,
realized when it was becoming serious, I basically sat her down and just told her pretty much everything.
yeah,
And to her absolute credit, she was like, "Okay, we'll deal with it. We'll crack on with it." And I think that was the moment where I really first went, "Okay, damn, this woman's great."
yeah, yeah. And I think that's it, isn't it? And I think, that is a credit, obviously, to yourself for opening up, but also as well, that kind of shows anyone that is listening that opening up is such a big thing. And I'm not saying it's the easiest thing in the world, because it's not, and it could take you so long to do it, and it can literally, you either just trust one person or a group of friends, or any of the help numbers that are running across the bottom of the screen, any of that. Like, it is the hardest thing ever to do, but then once you
Yes,
start doing it,
you feel
it
so much better.
exactly. Exactly.
I'm definitely. I am a bot. I used to be a bottle up kind of guy, and every couple of months I would just explode and become an a-hole for like 24 hours.
Yep.
But since you know, living with my friends and meeting my girlfriend, bottling, not bottling up anymore has been so good for me.
Yep. Yep. It really is. And that whole bottling up is so true. And it happened to me, and I think it's happened to a lot of people. Like, I bottled a lot of things up, and it was the smallest thing in the world that was my trigger, and it was a woman trying to cut me up in a car. Um and that was the trigger, literally, that sent me into having pretty much my breakdown,
It's
which
rough.
it
I'm
is.
sorry, man.
It's just, it was the maddest thing, and but then again, that's that. And I do bring this up quite a lot. It is very an old school mentality of, you know man up, don't talk about it, things will get better, don't worry, you know what I mean, all that kind of stuff, that you even get told through school, you know um that you kind of think, well, I can't talk to anyone,
No,
um
it's so true. I had the same thing where I didn't realize it at the time, but I was being like a bit, oh, I'm a man, I don't need to worry about this kind of stuff.
yep,
I had it the same thing with my sexuality. There were many years where I was blatantly bisexual but refused to admit it because, oh, I'm not homophobic, but I would never do that. And now I look back at my younger self and I just go, you're a bloody idiot.
yep,
And it's the same thing for the mental health as well. It applies to
exactly.
both.
Yeah, I think, and we had this conversation actually, a few weeks ago, about kind of mental health, sexualities, like the whole thing. They all kind of go very hand in hand sometimes, with kind of opening up and kind of speaking to people about it, and being, obviously, with your sexuality, being proud of who you are, but also as well with your mental health, in a strange way, being proud of, you opening up and admitting it. That is a very big step, and it is hard, but also as well, once you've done it, like, I in the weirdest way, I kind of feel not proud that I've got mental health issues and anxiety, but I feel happy in myself that I can talk about it and I can try and help someone.
Yeah, I Yeah, that's a very, to be fair, that is a thing to be proud of, I think, you know.
Yeah.
And there aren't many people who can just go on a podcast in front of half a dozen people and just talk about it. And I give props to you, sir, for being able to do that.
Thank you. And that's what I always say to every guest, though. Every single person that come on, like how brave people are. Because yeah, you guys are opening up and trying to help other people by telling your stories, which I think is amazing.
I just think the world needs more of it, you know. I don't think bottling up or not talking about it or being butch and not mentioning it is just not healthy for anyone.
Yeah.
I think I definitely feel, even on my worst days now, I feel better than I did when I used to bottle up, because bottling up, it did get to the point where I thought of, not often, but once or twice at least, just of ending it all.
Yeah.
But now being able to offload all of my crap, if you will,
Yep.
it's helped so much. And yeah, even on my worst days now, I think I'm better than I was then.
Yeah. I agree. My worst, so, and that is the thing, isn't it? I think on some of the worst days, like when you don't want to get out of bed, don't want to get in the shower, don't want to open the curtains, all of that kind of stuff. Like, I haven't been at that stage since I started talking about it. And that was to either my partner, therapist, family, online friends, like whatever. I still again have bad days and I still struggle, but not. And you are 100% right, not as bad as it ever was. And it's quite interesting. We have in the Discord, we have obviously people in the Discord that we chat to. I chat to like the main, like the people that obviously the runners and the owners of the Discord channel, like the six of us. We talk every day, and that for me has been amazing, because it is that whole, I'm in a shit mood. Like, I really don't really want to kind of really talk to anyone, but you guys are online, so let's have a bit of a chat. And I just go blah, 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 and they go blah, 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 and then we go, okay, cool.
Everyone
And
feels
then
better.
exactly, and it's crazy because I've only met two of them in real life, because we all just know each other online. And this is what always brings me back to that whole online, kind of thing. I think it's been very good for people, and even that article I mentioned earlier, over COVID and the pandemic, I think it's been brilliant for people to meet new people and open up.
Yeah, I definitely think I can't say I have had that experience of really having that kind of friendship just online, apart from, I guess, with my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
But I do see it as a good thing, because I'm not one of those old-fashioned people who go, oh, you should really get to know someone personally first. Like, if you're friends with someone, just be bloody friends with them,
Yeah.
online or not. And if you want to talk to them, talk to them.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. So when you kind of obviously going through like your bad times and things like that, how did you? Because I'm always interested in kind of how people kind of started to get through things. Did you kind of go and see a therapist at all, or medication, or mindfulness, CBT, or nothing? What was your kind of route there?
My route was a very long and difficult one. The worst of my mental health occurred during my teenage years. I have
Okay.
a very poor relationship with most of my family.
Right.
I grew
Okay.
up in not the nicest household.
Yeah.
Um, so, and I was a very arrogant teenager to boot.
Right.
I tried seeing therapists, but it didn't work for me at the time. I was
Yeah.
too young for medication.
Okay.
The way I got better was, I think I didn't find a solution for me until I moved in with my friend Rachel and her boyfriend Gare, where, they know me so well anyway. I've known them for so long, and
Yeah.
they do care. That's the thing. I grew up in an environment where they might have said, we care, but truthfully, they didn't.
Right.
It wasn't until I was in that environment with two people who did love me where I could start letting my guard down and talking, and that's where I learned to open up, really.
Yeah.
It was a long and very difficult road, but yeah, I got there in the end.
That's amazing. Like literally, as you say, like going through something so hard like that, and then meeting people that kind of that you trusted so much, you know, that they could always be there and you could open up. And again, it's so nice. And this is the thing always I say about kind of like with friendship and things like that. It's, you know, it's one of them things, and then people say you kind of know who your true friends are, and that sounds like, you know,
Absolutely.
Rachel and her partner were amazing and are
They
amazing.
were great.
Yeah,
You know, I think Rachel was amazing in bringing my guard down and, letting me start talking and opening up. And Gare, I didn't know him very well when I moved in. I just knew him as Rachel's boyfriend, but he was really chill and really calm. And even in the first few months where we didn't really know each other,
yeah,
he would come up to me and ask me how I'm doing and basically start chipping away at me. And I think those two working together to basically get me to open up was probably the best thing that's ever happened to me.
that's amazing. That's awesome. Like things like that are. It's such a nice story. Do you know what I mean? It's such a nice heart. And this is the thing, isn't it? This is again, you know, you wouldn't have got there without someone kind of helping and you opening up. Um,
Definitely not. No,
you know,
I would have been, my girlfriend was there as well in those first few months, but we're in a long distance relationship, so there's only so much
right?
she can do.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I was there in that environment with two people who care about me 24/7 where I could really
Yes.
open up.
Yeah.
Um, Again, no disrespect to the missus, she has been amazing, but like, there's only so much you can do over a text or a phone call.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Because you can always say, and this is one of the things that I always say as well with regards to online. Online's been brilliant, but also as well, like I'm one of them. If I'm in a bad, not in a bad mood, but if I'm in a weird mood and I get a text message, I could read that text message so negatively that I'm like, what are you saying? And I'll get annoyed about it. But then if I was in a happy mood and I read that, I would be, oh, that's really nice, you know? And I always think that text messages, emails, and sometimes phone calls, not as much because you can hear people's tone of voice, but I always think that it is so good to pick up the phone, like especially now with like Discord calls and video cameras and even WhatsApp calls, like, you know, to actually see people's facial expressions and all that. I think you can read it so easy because otherwise you can read things so wrong and it can kind of, could get me in trouble, and it has got me in trouble before, you know?
Yeah,
So,
I know what you mean. Yeah, I understand what you mean with the taking it the wrong way. There have been a good couple of times where my girlfriend has said something with the best intentions, and I've just
yes.
read it and gone, "What the hell?"
Yeah, exactly.
And but
Exactly
I
that.
don't know. She's still amazing though. I think the one thing that she does for me better than anyone is she keeps on top of my bad habits.
Yeah,
I grew up in a place where I grew up in an environment where I was told I was trampy and I didn't matter and I don't
right.
have any beliefs and stuff. So I'm that kind of person now where I can be very lazy, I can be very nonchalant and uncaring and lazy, and she's on top of that.
Yeah,
She's like, no, you need to do this, this, and this. Stop smoking as much as you are.
yeah,
Crack on and get on with your life. And she's very good at just in a loving and caring way.
yeah.
She's very good at putting a boot up my ass.
And sometimes you do need that. I'm not gonna lie. That's what my missus. She's very similar. Very, very, very similar. Like she does it in the nicest possible way. But yeah, she is similar. And
Definitely.
I do think you need that.
I'm that. If I could live my life the way I would naturally live it, I would be in bed all day watching YouTube, just pretending I don't exist. But with my missus, she's like, "No, you got to do this. You got to do this. Stop doing that. It's stupid, and just
Yeah.
crack on with it, for God's sake." It's like she's the bad cop to Rachel and Gare's good cop, if you will,
Yeah.
but in a nice way.
Yeah, of course. No, that is good. That is good. Um, so kind of with, well, obviously that with, are you still in a long term relation, a long distance relationship now?
Uh, as of right now, yes, but that's gonna change relatively soon.
Oh, amazing.
Um, there are nothing's confirmed yet, and I don't
Yeah.
even know if they would.
I don't know.
There are plans for me to move down at some
Okay.
point.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, that I am hoping it's going to be in the next few weeks. I'm also hoping
Oh
now that my
wow.
mother-in-law doesn't watch this because she doesn't know about any of this.
Fair enough. That's I will not ask any more then. That is absolutely fine. Um
You can ask plenty of stuff about the past, but I think I might have put my foot in it talking about that just now.
No worries at all.
Please don't hurt
um,
me, Stevie.
yeah. So yeah, so obviously coming on to kind of like yeah, the podcast and all that kind of stuff, and you know, I met you through Iron Hand. Like, how did you kind of meet? Do you know Iron Hand from real life, or do you know him from gaming? Just
I
because.
kid you not, it was one of my first ever streams. I think it was my second or third stream. I just
Mhm.
happened to be playing Total War, and out of nowhere he followed me. So I
Amazing.
went on to his next stream. I said thank you so much and all that. He's like, oh, you know, I like it when people play Total War because no one does it. And then we just clicked. And it was like that. He seems like such a nice and friendly, but also chill guy.
Yep.
Like I don't like going to a stream where everything's like super professional and there's things going across the screen all the time. It was just I enjoy Iron Hand because he's a nice bloke and he's
Yeah.
just a guy playing games, and
Yeah.
I dug it, and we've been
Nice.
online mates ever since.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, because I was kind of asking that because like that brings me on to kind of like you with your streaming, because you mentioned that you have streamed but you're kind of stopped at the moment and you want to try again. Is that right, or what's the plan?
Basically, I started it properly streaming maybe 2 3 months ago now,
Yeah.
and there was a good couple of weeks where I was just really doing it and trying it, and then it just stopped. Where it's just I stopped feeling the drive. I stopped feeling not as confident, but I started caring about how I
Yeah.
came across, and it got to the point where 20 minutes into a stream, I'd start going and just
Yeah.
not being able to do it. So I
Yeah.
think I'm going to, for now, I'm going to take a little step back.
Yep.
I'm going to wait until I have moved, and then I'm going to just throw myself back into it once I'm in a new environment and I'm sorted and I'm
Yeah.
ready to give it another go.
Nice. So then with your kind of anxiety kind of side of mental health, how did that kind of, yeah, how was your build up, I suppose, towards streaming?
My build up to streaming was I am a kind of guy where I am very socially anxious.
Yeah.
And I'm the kind of guy where if I'm in a party, I'm in the corner quietly drinking away, hoping I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I've worked incredibly hard to try and overcome that. I've kind of done acting-y things where I've joined like a local performance group just to
Amazing.
get myself in front of people to
Yeah.
talk. And to me, not being able to do that anymore because of things happening in my life now,
Yeah.
I thought, okay, how can I deal with that? How can I keep practicing and basically throwing myself into the deep end? And again, I currently live with my dad, and he's a tech guy, and he was
Yeah.
like, "Well, you could do streaming." I was like, "Holy crap! Yeah, I could just do that." So yeah, this is my way of staying on top of my social anxieties, because if I don't keep working at it and if I don't keep faking it until I make it, I will just slowly withdraw back into being a quiet nerd in the middle of the corner. In the middle of the corner, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's amazing though, for you to kind of, you know, put yourself out there to obviously with the acting kind of side of it, and then again, and this is a massive thing, and I always think with any kind of mental health issues, anything like that, is the whole, I think once you realize and you have this realization that you do have mental health problems, and you know, anything from depression, anxiety, you know, multiple kind of things, once you kind of admit it to yourself that something is, that is such a huge step, and then for you to kind of then turn around and go, you know, I need to match that and then go to streaming, I think is amazing. Like seriously, hands are, I think, absolutely amazing.
I appreciate it. Thank you. It's been an adventure trying to stay on top of it. I spent
Yeah.
so many years in denial of it and just being like, oh
Hmm.
no, I'm just quiet.
Yeah.
And then trying to accept it was, credit to my mother. I won't credit her with a lot, but one thing I will credit her with is
Yeah.
that she accepted my mental health issues before I realized I had them, and she pushed me to deal with them. And when the opportunity to do the performancey stuff came up,
Yeah.
she was a pretty huge advocate of it. She's like, I'll pay for you to get there. I'll pay for you to get food and all
Oh
that. I think this will
wow.
be good for you. And that's one of the few things that she has done very well by me. And I'm very grateful to it, because I don't think if she pushed me to do that,
You
I
wouldn't
don't think I
have
would have
done
done
it.
it. And
Yeah.
socially, I probably wouldn't even be here doing this if I didn't do that.
Yep. Yep. 100%. And that's yeah, that is. It's such a good thing, and I think it is, and it doesn't always have to be, because I'm the same now. Like I used to be, So this is how crazy it is. I used to be a holiday rep. So 18 to 30s holiday rep, stand up in front of hundreds of people, like talking about kind of, you can go in this event, you can go and see this show, you can go on this booze cruise, you can go blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And, absolutely loved it and was super social, the whole lot. And then after my kind of, breakdown and that, I really kind of, and I still suffer and struggle now. I still can't look people in the eye when I'm out. I don't know why. I still maybe think that they think something bad of me. I don't know what. It's just so bizarre. I can't look at people in the eye, and I'm a lot more kind of, anxious with the old sweaty palms and like panic attack type of vibes. But and it's so strange. So I totally get that feeling. But again, it's that whole thing of, for me, it's trying to push myself to kind of go and put myself into these situations to then try and help myself get over it. But it's hard. It's hard.
It's a pain in the butt, but I do think forcing yourself to confront things you hate is probably one of the best ways to get over your issues, even if it's only slightly.
Yeah.
Even if it just helps you, even if it just puts off a panic attack for 5 minutes because you've got that bolstering.
Yes.
I think it is like the best way to get over something is just doing it.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Granted, I don't always listen to my own lesson, but
This is exactly what I said literally when I was talking about my not taking my meds. I'm totally like, oh my God, I'm so against people coming off meds, like just stopping them. And obviously I did, and I didn't mean to do it on purpose. It just, I forgot a few days, and then a few days went into a couple more days, and so on and so forth. And it's that same thing. You can dish out as much advice as possible, but taking it yourself is sometimes very hard.
Absolutely.
Very hard.
I'd agree with that. I think the biggest example for me would be my eating and my smoking. I'd say before the age of 10, I was quite fit, quite lean, quite up together.
Yeah.
And then my life in a lot of ways fell apart. Long story short, my dad was forced out of my life, and then things got a lot worse for me.
Okay.
And even though I would tell people, eat good, I tell my siblings, oh, come on, eat your vegetables and stuff. I was spending every day stuffing my face, and now I'm a tubby lard because of it.
Yeah.
And then it's the same with smoking. I grew up hating smoking, not understanding why people did it. Yeah. And here I am now, 3 years later. I've been like a chain smoker for 3 years.
Yeah.
And it's just, please just, I think do as I say, not as I do. Please don't smoke. Please don't overeat.
Yeah, it's true. It's one of them things. You have to look after yourself. And someone brought this up on one of the other podcasts, and they mentioned that through NHS, through kind of media, through that, we're always told to literally look after your body, like eat well and sleep good and the whole thing. But like, you go to the gym to like look after yourself, but then there is no such thing about, people saying look after your mind. They are starting to now, very, very slowly. They're starting to do it. But we will work so hard to make our bodies look amazing. Obviously not me, because I don't. But
you look better than I do.
I'm sure. I'm definitely from the head up, maybe. But honestly, like, it is like you're told to like go to the gym and just do this and make sure. But then no one ever says, look after your mind and talk about it.
I think if your mind is in a bad state, your body is much more liable to end up in a rough state too. Yep. There was my smoking. Once I was miserable and depressed, I decided to start doing it, thinking I could arrogantly control it.
Yeah.
And now here I am, like smoking myself, literally in a way to death.
Yeah.
So it's like I think if your mental health is bad, you are much more liable to treat your body like crap too. So you need to balance both.
Definitely, and that's with me with eating for sure. If I'm having that's obviously with a lot of people as well, but I don't think I ever eat bad. I overeat. I eat too much is my big thing, and then it gets to the evening like now, and I'm like, if I've had a really like miserable day or I feel starting to feel a bit down, then I'll just go and eat.
Same.
And that, I think that's a thing with a lot of people, and and that's the hard thing, and you try and tell yourself, and then as soon as you do it, you're like, you feel even worse because you've eaten and you shouldn't have, and then you feel rubbish because of it, and it's just that downward spiral, isn't it? So
Definitely. I have that problem now where like I used to be in a really intense foodie and I would turn to food whenever I would like feel miserable.
Yeah.
But I'm now at the point where although I don't feel mentally that bad anymore compared to then, my body is used to that intake. And I have to have it or
Yes.
I'm starving all day
Yeah.
and it's just not helping.
Yeah. Yeah. Very much
That's-
so. Very much so. And then the anxiety for me is then like anxiety. Then if I'm going to go to a gym, that whole anxiety of going to the
Oh, I
gym,
can
are people looking at me? Are they,
imagine that.
people are saying stuff about me, and but it's the best thing for you, but it's physically so hard to go and do it.
I've only ever even thought about trying it once, going to the gym, and the thought was it. That's all I could do. I
Yeah.
was just like, there's so much like I don't know, like pressure in a way. It's
Mm.
kind of like I don't know. It's like between the urge to go wanting to sort myself out and then feeling like everyone's going to be sniggering and laughing at me behind my back. It was just way too much, and I blew up.
Yeah. Yep. That makes so much sense to me. And the only way, because I went to a gym. Well, so when it all first happened, like the doctor was like, "Look, try and go to the gym, try and get some exercise," and started walking. Then I went to the gym, and Mrs. came to the gym with me, but it was kind of like one of them gyms where all the bouncers would go and all the doormen would go, and
Oh,
so then it's kind of 100% people. Yeah, I felt like people were obviously looking at me, and then we talked about it, and actually one of the good things, but then obviously it cost a fortune. I actually ended up going and joining David Lloyd because it was more, they call it a club, part of this club, but the good thing about it, and it was my job as well at the time, I could work anywhere and anytime and all that type of stuff. So I started going to like the gym in the day, and it was amazing because all it was maybe a couple of other people in there, and they definitely didn't care kind of what you looked like and all that kind of stuff, and it was brilliant. Only thing, the money was horrendous. So it was that kind of like, do we keep doing this and like putting ourselves maybe in like financial rubbish because of it, and then in the end we ended up kind of moving and all that kind of stuff anyway, so we had to get rid of it. But yeah, that was the best kind of gym ever. But
I don't know.
again, money wise was just a bit crazy.
I don't know if I could. At least not anytime soon. I don't think I could go to the gym. I have huge motivation issues.
Yeah.
And just my body isn't in the my body isn't in the greatest shape. I've got a couple of issues, and it's just between all that and my motivation of just, do I really want to do this to everything? Like
Yeah.
working out just seems so daunting to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. I think once I move, I'm gonna give it another go because my girlfriend will literally be there with me to make me do it.
And that's the thing. I think if you have someone to go with you, or you do something together, or even if it's like, even with the other half, if it's like, you try and get your 10,000 steps in a day, or, just going out with, with the other half, like during like evening or lunchtime or morning or whatever, and just walk. And, I still think that is like amazing. Like, I truly think a little bit of exercise makes you feel so much better. I'm very similar with my motivation, and I say this pretty much every week. I feel so privileged being a dad anyway, but he gets me out. He needs to go out. He needs to go to his classes. He needs to go out for walks. He needs to go out to nursery. He needs to. So it forces me to go out. And it's that thing. If I didn't have him, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't go out. And the missus says, even the other day, she was like, "Are you going to go out for a walk?" And I was like, "No," because she had the little one that day, and I was like, "No, I'm not going to." But then if I do go out for a walk, I feel way better. But is that motivation of physically doing it in the first place?
See, I also have the problem. I don't get that. Like everyone says, if you work out enough, you'll get like an endorphin rush.
Yeah,
That, although I haven't worked out in a while, even when I was younger and a bit more fit, and I would like basically do stuff that would equal to working out for like 2 hours,
yeah.
I bloody hate every second of it. Even when I was physically capable of doing it, I
Uh,
don't understand. Like they say, oh, if you do it for ages, you'll get a rush. Like really?
yeah.
Where?
I don't think I get the rush, especially walking. I don't think I get the rush, but I do get that whole sense of fresh air and it's clear in my head, or not
Oh,
clear in my head, but kind of slightly putting things in perspective.
I
I
get
think
that.
is
Yeah, no,
more,
that I do understand.
yeah.
But then in my head, I would go, okay, why don't I just sit on this bench and just enjoy it rather than do this working out thing too?
Yeah, true, very true. But then that's good as well.
I
That's
think
fine.
what we've, I think what we've learned about me on this podcast today is that I'm just a lazy bastard.
It's not. It's the motivation. There's nothing else. It's motivation, and I think motivation is a massive part of mental health because
Absolutely,
we
I think it's the
mentioned this a
biggest.
lot. Yeah, because we mentioned this a lot with even regards to again opening up and talking to people, and with like the numbers that are scrolling across the bottom. So for the people that are listening on Spotify, we have the Samaritans, Mine, and Calm. The UK numbers scrolling across the bottom of the screen, and it takes a lot of motivation to actually pick up a phone and ring these people, and or again pick up a phone and speak to a friend or anything like that. The motivation behind is sometimes awful, and that's the whole thing of when you're going through your worst stage. The motivation to physically just get up out of bed can be the
It's
hardest
just not
thing
there.
you in your whole entire day.
Absolutely. I think in terms of my mental health right now, the motivation thing is my biggest flaw.
Yeah,
Because I'm the kind of guy where I have to be stupidly passionate about something to even want to think about doing it.
yeah,
Um, I've lost jobs before where I was just so unmotivated and enthused by it, where they've literally sacked me because I wasn't paying enough attention because I was like in a fantasy land in my head somewhere. I have to really care about something to really do it well, and I want to improve on that because obviously that just isn't going to work.
yes, but so yes, it's good to improve on that, but also as well with the job front, I am very much like that. And I've been like that for a long time. And I will not if I need money, I'll work and do anything. If I'm okay, I will not do anything I don't want to do. And that is really bad, but also as well, it's good for yourself because then I always then try and do work that I love to do. But then sometimes, obviously, I know people need to work and need to earn money, etc. I totally get that. But yeah, I always think that, and I think that's again with my age as well. Like I hit 40 in literally like 2 and a bit weeks.
40?
Yeah.
You're looking fucking good for it, mate. I won't lie.
Thank you
40?
very
I would
much.
have paid you about 30.
Yep, the big 40. Honestly,
Right.
but I feel that because of that age as well, like I've got to that stage where I'm only ever going to do what I want to do
Jealous of you.
because it's not that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've been through some absolute shit because of it. Like again, I'm the same as you. I've lost jobs. I've been told that I'm unmanageable. All that type of stuff. But then, and again, another positive out of my breakdown is that I realised that some of the things that I wanted to do, and I started a business, a clothing brand. I started a clothing brand business when I was better from my mental health. But it was all that thing of like why, because again my mental health thing was about work, a lot of it, and someone owed me like nearly 10 grand out of
Wow.
wages, and I was like, I don't ever want to feel like that, and I don't ever want to be in that situation. So how can I do that? Oh, okay, I work for myself. Right, what do I know and what do I do? And yeah, hence why again now while I'm still in the situation where I am, where we're still running the clothing brand, but I'm also then trying to do graphics. I'm also trying to do, other little things for myself that's going to be things that I enjoy that I know I can make some money. Because again, I don't want to, as I say, I don't want to be put in a situation where I don't enjoy a job or I'm not getting paid or etc.
I think I'm working to the point where, I'm a fair bit younger than you.
Yeah.
Um, and I think I'm working to the point now where I want to get ready and move into a position where I can do what I want to do because I am
Yeah.
a huge history dork. I could bore you to death about Roman history.
Oh,
And I
amazing.
think I've got the problem of not having like GCSE. So I think what I want to do for my future is partially, be a dad one day. That would be nice, but also work myself up the academic ladder to where I can get to that to do that. Because I think honestly, it's the only job I could really see myself looking forward to doing, apart from maybe childcare,
Yeah,
and that would depend on the kid, to be honest.
100%.
So I think, yeah, you're in a position where you can kind of do that, and I think that's wonderful for you, where like you can get a bit more of a say on what you really want to do, and I
Yeah,
think that's my goal, like professionally, is to get to that point
yeah.
where I can do that.
I feel that I am very lucky, and I'm a stay-at-home dad, and then I do obviously the working part-time and things like that. And yeah, I am very lucky. And my other half, she does a fantastic job, and she works like stupidly hard for it. And so again, I understand that we're in a lucky place, but then I am still very happy that if I need money, and I've done it before, I will jump in a car and I'll be a Domino's delivery driver, or whatever. Because if you need money, you need money, and you'll do anything. But yeah, at this moment in time, yeah, we're very kind of, I feel very privileged of kind of how things have worked out and how things are planned out. And yeah, I would always say that you should always try and do what you enjoy, and even for yourself, like, even if it's that whole thing of open university or whatever it is, to kind of get your academic kind of back up, and then look at going into that, I think would be amazing. Be awesome.
That's the dream, baby. That's the dream.
Be phenomenal.
Fingers crossed, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to get to where you're at, just maybe minus the graphics bit, because I can't do that for Toffee.
Well, you can always use Paint, on the computer. Used to love that.
That would be embarrassing. No, I'm not going to use Paint. I'm not going to be like, God. Paint. I forgot that even existed before you mentioned it.
Or, do you know, the amount of time we used to spend in school, like making like stupid like sceneries on Paint, used to just be hilarious. Spend hours. Crazy, ain't it? Back in the day, eh?
The amount of time I didn't spend in school would say, actually, I never got around to doing that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Martin, this has been wicked. Like, honestly, like it's been awesome. I'm not gonna obviously keep you for too much longer, but I always like to ask people kind of if you've got anything else like to add, to say, that you want to kind of let people know, or what's helped you get through things, or whatever. If you got anything kind of
I'll start off by saying thank you for having me on. It's been bloody lovely. I've very much enjoyed this chat, and you are doing amazing work with this podcast, and it's a great message to be spreading.
Thank you.
I think if I were to shout out anything, there's only one thing I could really shout out, because I've not done much more outside of it. But if you're in Bristol, even for like a couple of days, look up Many Minds. It's a performance group I used to be with. I unfortunately cannot do it anymore, but they accept anyone. It's mental health oriented performances, where they basically build you up, get you comfortable with working with each other and being open, and then they prepare to do a performance about mental health issues, social issues, everything like that. They're amazing. They're lovely people. Please, if you're in the area and you've got a spare 2 hours on a day that they're on, go ahead.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Actually, it's really nice to know that. We lived down that way, and before we actually moved up towards Scotland. So yeah, I've still got friends in that down there, so that'd be really handy to fire that over to them, which is great.
Definitely, they're lovely people, absolutely amazing. Like, they really helped me through a lot of crap, and have helped me again probably be able to be here to do this, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to do this.
Yeah. Well, I know, I massively appreciate it, and exactly that, like getting help somehow with either opening up, talking about it, like even kind of as Martin saying with regards to like Many Minds, if that's not your thing, that's obviously not your thing, but then there's dog walking, there's activities, there's whatever there is always stuff that can help, and one person's kind of route is not yours, but at the end you always do come together, and and that's kind of the main thing. But yeah, Martin, thank you. I'm going to sign off. If you kind of hold on, I will chat to you once we finish. But yeah, stick around and I'll chat to you in a bit. But yeah, thank you so much, Martin.
Thank you very much.
So guys, that was so much fun. Like I I do. I love, and I do admit this. I am quite a nosy person, and I love to know how people how mental health has affected them, and how their journey's been, and where it is at the moment, and it fascinates me, and I still love the fact that we have so many brave people coming on, opening up, and telling people their stories. And as Martin mentioned very early on in the podcast, that if we do 1,000 of these but we only help one person, that's amazing. That's literally amazing. That's all I ever want, is for someone to go, oh yeah, someone else is going through a similar problem, and that's going to help me, and I can talk to it, and I can speak to someone or something like that. So but yes, so thank you again, everyone, for watching, listening, wherever obviously you're watching and listening this. I really appreciate it. Yeah, as always, I thank you for Martin again, and look after your own mental health, and we will see you next time.